We have one.
You show your book, you should show the first is the best. The best one is the first one. No. Save the best for the first.
Spend a lot of time here.
Sure.
Okay.
Excuse me, we're about to start. Please resume into the room for the next panel about to go. And remind you again, if you didn't pick some like the translation set, please do, because one of the speakers will speak in Thai.
I think we are ready. Okay, welcome back again to our public forum on resort politics and the public sphere in Southeast Asia, the liberation, accountability, and alternatives. In the morning, I suppose to introduce myself first. My name is Situla. From Higher World Stiftung Southeast Asia office. We are co-organizer with the Center for Social Development Studies and also Foundation for Educational Community Media, FCEM. Is that right? Is that correct? No. Okay, again. Foundation for Community Educational Media, okay, FCEM. Thanks a lot. In the morning, because we come together today just to discuss more about the relationship between seeing accountability through the public sphere, and then in the morning we listen to Ajahn Narumon and talk about when the regime changed, the public sphere has been changed as well. So how we handle as a civil society, I want to call civil society, even though Ajahn Narumon already proposed that sometimes we are just an object, and then it's not really civil society, it's a civil state. And so if we already realize that, what should we handle with that new framework, what about our new paradigm? So that's the thing in the morning, in the first section, and then the second panel talking more into moving it into a regional level, transboundary public sphere. What does it mean by that? We still working on it, but at least today could be one of some concrete example that we invite people in the region and then start talking about the similarity, commodities, and also the difference among each other. So we listen to some story. And then in the afternoon, we came back and then start talking about how does the media play a role when talking about the public sphere. The development of the public sphere would be like front-to-front communication, and then to get later mass communication, and right now internet online communication plays the most important part. And then we can we heard from our friend in the third panel already. Right now in this panel we will take a long journey. It's not only a campaign, but it, what should I say? They feel it with their lives. It's not really like one-time activity, but it's a long-term activity, and then we consider it as like a success story. We have four topics to be discussed today or to be shared today, and we have 5 presenters. We have QP. DUP, sorry about that. Yeah, from Macro Energy and Ecology Network, or MENET, and EDA from Green Rights Organization. Okay, and we have Kun Jaran Kwan Jantaraviti from Southern Peasants Federation of Thailand. Kun Jaran Kwan, on the way. And okay, welcome, Kun Jaran. And we have Toshi Doi, Senior Advisor at Home Watch. And next to me, Christian Han from New Narrative from Singapore. Okay, thank you for making the long trip to be with us today. I would like to start with the first topic entitled Towards a Green Energy Vision in Chan State, a case of community-owned management on energy, water, and forest in the new self-administrative area in southern Chan. Actually, when we heard about, we heard from Edmund Bond about self-determination right, and now again self-administrative area. Do they have some connection? Okay, we will listen from both of you, please.
So good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Jiru. I'm from Mekong Energy and Ecology Network for Myanmar program. So actually, I totally focused for Myanmar program. Today, I'm together with my colleagues, the new ethnic leader who I'm working with him for in southern Shan, the new area for I think 2-3 years already. So he is a key person, like working in this area for his ethnic people for many years. So, but we've been doing the kind of like a community or like a research, like how to manage the like energy, water, and forest in this area, because this area is a very unique area and also very, how to say, like important for the forest and watershed in this area, because it's also one of the last kind of watershed and forest area. That's like a, how to say, support and contributes so many like a resource to other area like a main city and like another place. So that's why we see in this area is very important how to we conserving and how to manage integrate like a method of but this is like a managed by the community because their area also we call it the autonomy, whatever called self-administrative area. So I think my colleagues Ida will be sharing starting let's say start from local context for a few minutes and I will follow.
Hello everyone, I'm Ida, but the guy right on here Indonesia, the national IT guy was almost known as Ida, so I'm also a writer of poet. And I live in this Chengdu area. Chengdu also located in Shan State, and almost there will be this area not fighting because our center is always fighting with ethnic army and Bangladesh army. So and also so our area is very important area. And also our ethnic is no army, no army, But so we have no fighting, but we have no peace because a lot of channels from the mining company from Chinese and also land grabbing from the project. And that is our mountain area. That is very rural, the biodiversity, the rock, the flowers, and the very ecological, the important wildlife area. And there is also the beautiful mountain in our area. So our ethnic people have like and take agriculture with naturally that they have no big machine. So and also this area is the highest level from in South State about 8,000 sea level, and also there is a lot of water resource of and that is supported for the distribution for the many billion the fund for the two big tank in our area. It's not for hydropower. It's only for the irrigation for sharing or for water area. And also we have a lot of the natural resources like wood, land, mining, and another lot of the the extractive area, and also the wildlife area, and also we have not only our two ethnic people, we have our whole ethnic, Tongyu ethnic, Shan ethnic, Palau, Ta'ang ethnic. We have to educate our in peacefully non-high And our government always say, our country is no peace, so we cannot grow the economy, or we cannot develop much. And our area is long time ago already peace, no fighting, but it already is not also our area. So that is different from our government. The previous governments or the current governments, they always said no peace, no development. That's not it. Because every government they ignore our minority, but we are not minority. We have the 10 biggest ethnic in Myanmar. And also we have no harm. We have a lot of resources, and we conserve a lot of forest area, but they always about the development, the education, health, the human rights. So now we have a lot of challenges from income, mainly from Chinese. the Chinese people coming in our area, illegally, no passport, no visa, and they take money out of and they take the gram and so our they something yeah. And also so in micro and mini hydro, so under 1 megawatt we have already 5,000 projects in our country, but all those are in our state because we have a lot of water resources for protect a lot of small power of people. So we have also to do areas. In our one of the village is already have electricity from 20 years ago by the small hydropower. So and they set up with themselves, no support. So the never support from any government or any NGO. So they collect their money by themselves and they set up the hydropower and they already get their electricity. That's 20 years ago. So one of the is the mini hydropower. So that is very important area because they already know about the for water resources. So they already know the custom custom idea for. So they already said to me and they maintain and they conserve their forests because so they must they need to the water. So water and the forest conservation areas, so they already know about their resources, but they have no political so idea or any the big project, but they only know about how to use their small scale from their nature resources. Yes, one of my colleagues, the only villager called Ujorin, he is not educated, so he only he only finished the primary school, but he is clever for to set up the people on the power. He learned from the any other the micro hydropower. So he set up a lot of the mini hydropower and because he is and also the community the engineer. So he is very interesting man in our area. Yeah, he set up this one of the people of yes. So we met together work in our area for the community business in Yuan Township. It is also the Chengdu self-administration area. The self-administration area being entered by the 2008 Constitution, but that is so poor law because it's self-administration means they give only for not forest, even though forest they just find out who only the small market only they give. So our community is not so much big. So very small and so they our community cannot the management our forests or our resources or our land, but we have already community rule long ago. So they you see the picture. So we discuss about it together our villager. So we might together the match. Where is the boundary? What is our resource? Where is our the land? So how to protect our forest and so how we did so management and management our land and how we we work to look for our sustainable forest and sustainable future. So because we have a lot of the already the livelihood skill from the TD, orange, coffee. So we had a lot of the resources. So that is the biggest mess. So that is the we combine the all I think 10 village match already combined match. So we can buy a lot of the slowly for our sustainable region.
I think my colleagues, my friend is trying to explain the right. So I think there's lots of idea there how the community done by themselves. But because this area, why we are doing this practice, actually they already practice for me, the community they practice for this long time ago. But now a lot of challenge pressure on outside mining and logging issue because that area people target a lot. That's a good forest, good watershed, everything. So there are lots of pressure coming. So they're trying to protect more systematically because they protect by themselves by their own rule. So this is a kind of very good step that we're starting from the bottom and trying to, and also we're looking at also the MINEC and another level is a national level. How to we see in the for example green energy vision in the Shan State is a very much potential. So we also have another step for going to the how the green energy solution for Shan State. So maybe I look in a little bit going to another maybe a few minutes to more how our developing the green energy vision in Shan State. So this is something we've been doing the local level how to develop the small scale electrification in this area because there is no government support. So we've been working in this area for many years, by the community develop energy system. So, but now another program starting. The grid, national grid, the government grids are coming, and that the existing small scale have to abandon. So there also we are facing a lot of problem. So this facing not only in Shan State, everywhere now starting this issue because the government they only focus on the centralized system or the grid, but they don't see the existing power of people, how the local people developing their own management system, but they have to encourage this system even. So that means they can reduce, the government, they can reduce their burden a lot and how to promote the existing one in a sustainable way. So this is a one case of the mini hydro system in Shan State, but the grid already arrived and then they have to abandon. It's a quite big system, 50 kilowatt and 60 kilowatt, two generator, but now they have to stop. But even the grid is unstable. The black hole all the time. So that's why people are confusing a lot. So they have to pay for a lot of money to connect the grid. But this one is they use for many years, almost free. But later, but at the beginning they have to pay some money, but later they pay free. But the problem is the grid came, right, and then they have to abandon. But at the same time, the grid is not stable, not reliable, and also very expensive. So now people are confusing a lot. So they have to go in back. So here I want to show you the brief picture of Myanmar power sector. We have a three system, like a national grid. Only 30% of the country area connected to the grid. But the upgrade is that the area we are working. So thousands of decentralized mini grid and so operate in many areas, like Shan State. So this is an opportunity why a government and even international donor or people, they are not seeing this very much. So we are seeing this area is a good opportunity to promote and to encourage. So the other one is the IPP for esports. This is a big challenge we are facing. A lot of large hydropower and coal power plant. So on all the 90% of these projects going to see the neighboring like China and Thailand. So okay, I will skip this one. So why the green energy vision in Shanxi? So we know we're working with the a lot of pressure from the Shanxi is a large hydropower and like a coal power plant project. So we have been closely working with some the Shan party is a very strong Shan party. So they're really working with us and they really want to do the green energy law for Shan State, Shan government. So we have developed the green energy law for Shan State. So nearly two years, and now I have from my colleagues from the party, and they are going to discuss this energy law in the parliament next week. So it's a very good step, because this law is we take the power a lot from the centralized government and then give the power to the state government, and also a lot of a federal system, and not only the decentralized but also the federal, because the ethnic area people they don't like the centralized group and they want to rule by themselves. So that's why they really want to develop this law. Can you go? Yes, maybe. So these are the situation in Shanxi. Long time ago, without support from the government. So they've been doing a lot of a mini hydro and small scale, a thousand project, without support from the government. It's a piece of money for many years. But we see these are the opportunities. Even now, World Bank and ADB JICA, who is supporting a lot of the Ministry of Energy and Electricity from Myanmar. So they now seeing these are the very good opportunity. Oh, this is the operate role is very important. So now they start recognize the situation. So this even small scale you can work lots of things even like this. So now we really know the decentralized our energy planning is very much a top down and no public almost no public participation. So that's why we need to revise or changing this one and more focus the green solution on public participation and the open solution and centralized decentralized solution. So this is the Shan party, and we have been working for 2-3 years. And a lot of discussion, develop the law. So I think this is very much detail about the law, and so I want to skip. We have a 3-level system, the small scale, state level, union level. For example, the small scale one under the 1 megawatt. This is controlled by all community system. You don't need to deal with the government or they can manage by themselves. But the other 2 level they have another level and regulation, something like that. So this is our big opportunity of the corporate generation in Myanmar. So we really have Myanmar is I think we don't need to repeat the mistake. We can do the leapfrog. The technology is already here, so we don't need to use the old technology. So for the energy one, we have a lot of choice and opportunity, a better solution, the alternative solution. So we see this is a good chance for Myanmar for to take a leapfrog how to use the sustainable way. So yeah, and also we very recently we have developed. I think this is done by the U.S. part of the U.S. government. They have a dam research in Myanmar is the best potential for the solar development in Southeast Asia, and also very good for wind situation for renewable. So now I think this kind of like a solar and wind project, like a renewable energy projects now going on very quickly now. So I think so this is a good chance for Myanmar, like not only for Chiang State, but also the other area, like we need to go for like the greener solution and quite from the like a discarded like a one, like you already make a mistake a lot. So okay, thank you.
Also, thank you very much for your inspiring story. When if we have to come back to the public sphere, this mean like what you have done. I think you are working on it right now too. It's really you seeking for a long-term and sustainable solution for yourself, and it starts from inside. You want to create like decentralized system for your energy, and then it's really. Yeah, it's a long flight, it's a long journey. Thanks a lot. From Myanmar, I know that some of you might have any question in mind, but just keep it first and then we will come back after every presentation already done. So from Myanmar, we come back to Bangkok, to the south of Thailand. To the south of Thailand. We will talk about one community that really fight for their land and ensure that, okay, if we would have a chance to manage the land by ourselves, what would we do with it? So this is our story. So here, like a brief introduction. So Kun Jaran Kwan from Southern Peasant Federation of Thailand, SPFT, will talk about her story, will share about her story. Kun Jaran Kwan will speak in Thai, so make sure that you have the translation device.
ค่ะก็คือก่อนอื่นก็ขอสวัสดีทุกท่านนะคะแต่ว่านี่ก็เป็นครั้งแรกๆค่ะที่เยาวชนคนนี้ได้ออกมาพูดนะคะถ้าเกิดว่ามีอะไรผิดพลาดก็ต้องขอโทษด้วยค่ะตื่นเต้นมากโอเคค่ะค่ะก่อนอื่นก็คือจะพูดถึงเกี่ยวกับเรื่องการจัดการทรัพยากรของรัฐแล้วก็การเข้าถึงทรัพยากรนะคะซึ่งในเราได้แบ่งทรัพยากรออกเป็นสองประเภทนะคะก็คือทรัพยากรธรรมชาติแล้วก็ทรัพยากรชนิดอื่นทรัพยากรธรรมชาติเนี่ยก็อย่างเช่นที่ดินน้ำป่าไม้น้ำแร่ธาตุต่างๆนะคะส่วนทรัพยากรชนิดอื่นเนี่ยก็เป็นทรัพยากรที่อยู่ในมือของรัฐค่ะอย่างเช่นภาษีอะค่ะที่อยู่ในกระทรวงการคลังอะไรเงี้ยค่ะซึ่งก็เป็นทรัพยากรส่วนหนึ่งที่ผ่านการจัดการโดยรัฐนะคะแล้วก็ก็จะพูดถึงเรื่องการมีส่วนร่วมของภาคประชาชนนะคะเพราะว่าการมีส่วนร่วมของภาคประชาชนเนี่ยมันจะส่งผลก็คือถึงการเกี่ยวกับการเข้าถึงที่ดินของที่ดินนะคะซึ่งถ้าเราดูจากกฎหมายแล้วเนี่ยคือไม่ว่าจะเป็นรัฐธรรมนูญหรือว่ากฎหมายพรบชนิดต่างๆจะกำหนดให้ประชาชนสามารถมีส่วนร่วมในการจัดการทรัพยากรสามารถเข้าถึงข้อมูลข่าวสารของรัฐได้แต่ว่าถ้าในทางปฏิบัติจริงๆแล้วประชาชนหรือว่าชุมชนไม่สามารถเข้าถึงได้ทั้งหมด 100% อย่างเช่นการไปขอข้อมูลของรัฐเราต้องไปขอร้องเราต้องไปอ้อนวอนเขาแทบจะกราบเท้าเขาด้วยซ้ำเพื่อที่จะให้รัฐเปิดเผยข้อมูลให้กับประชาชนนะคะหรือว่าบางครั้งเนี่ยประชาชนจะต้องออกไปชุมนุมออกไปประท้วงเพื่อที่จะให้รัฐเปิดเผยข้อมูลข่าวสารบางอย่างหรือว่าให้เข้าไปทำการศึกษาวิจัยในพื้นที่เกี่ยวกับผลกระทบที่รัฐ ดำเนินนโยบายโดยไม่ไปถามความคิดเห็นของประชาชนในพื้นที่นะคะซึ่งก็จะเปรียบเทียบเกี่ยวกับการให้พื้นที่ของรัฐนะคะก็คือรัฐเนี่ยส่งเสริมการลงทุนของภาคธุรกิจของกลุ่มทุนขนาดใหญ่ก็คือโครงการเขตเศรษฐกิจพิเศษนะคะซึ่งจะอยู่ใน10จังหวัดของประเทศไทยนะคะคือโดยรวมแล้วเนี่ยก็พื้นที่เกือบ4 ล้านไร่ที่รัฐจัดสรรไว้เพื่อที่จะมอบให้กับเพื่อที่จะให้กลุ่มทุนเช่าอาจจะ99 ปีหรือว่าอาจจะมีสัญญาอื่นๆซึ่งมันเป็นพื้นที่ที่จำนวนมากโดยที่รัฐเนี่ยเหมือนไปขอร้องอย่างเช่นไปขอร้องให้ประเทศจีนเข้ามาช่วยให้บริษัทของแจ็คหม่าเข้ามาช่วยในการพัฒนาเศรษฐกิจของประเทศไทยแต่ในขณะเดียวกันนะคะอันนี้คือข้อมูลของสำนักงานการปฏิรูปที่ดินนะคะซึ่งเป็นรายงานการประชุมก็คือเขาบอกว่าในปี 60 ที่ผ่านมาเนี้ยเขาได้จัดที่ดินให้กับประชาชนประมาณ1 ล้านไร่แต่อย่างไรก็ดีคือจากการค้นคว้าหาข้อมูลแล้วก็ไม่รู้ว่าที่ดินตรงนี้จัดให้กับใครเพราะว่าภาคประชาชนไม่สามารถเข้าถึงข้อมูลที่แท้จริงได้แล้วก็ไม่ได้รับที่ดินตามที่รายงานการประชุมฉบับนี้ได้เผยแพร่ออกมาเพราะว่าภาคประชาชนได้ออกไปเรียกร้องให้รัฐมาปฏิรูปแต่คนที่ออกไปเรียกร้องยังไม่ได้รับที่ดินนะคะอาจจะมีการได้รับที่ดินค่ะแต่ว่าเป็นส่วนน้อยมากคือแค่ประมาณ700 ไร่อะค่ะในจังหวัดกาฬสินธุ์ค่ะคือตรงนี้สุดท้ายแล้วก็คือจะสื่อให้เห็นว่าผลกระทบของการที่ภาคประชาชนไม่สามารถเข้าถึงข้อมูลแล้วก็ไม่สามารถมีส่วนร่วมกับรัฐในการจัดการที่ดินเนี่ยมันส่งผลให้ทรัพยากรต่างๆไปอยู่ในมือของรัฐทั้งหมดทำให้ภาคประชาชนไม่มีอำนาจในการต่อรองไม่มีความสามารถในการเข้าร่วมในการจัดการที่ดินซึ่งก็ประชาชนก็เลยต้องลำบากต้องยากจนส่งผลให้เกิดความเหลื่อมล้ำคือล่าสุดก็จะเห็นว่าประเทศไทยเนี่ยมีความเหลื่อมล้ำเป็นอันดับ1ของโลกแต่ตามไม่แน่ใจว่าอ้างอิงจากอันไหนลืมค่ะแต่ว่าข้อมูลตรงนี้เนี่ยมันก็เห็นได้ชัดจริงๆกลุ่มทุนในประเทศไทยตอนนี้มีเพียง 1% ที่ร่ำรวยครอบครองกลุ่มคน 1% ครอบครองทรัพย์สินของทั้งประเทศอยู่ 60%นั่นแสดงให้เห็นว่าแล้วคนอีก 99% ที่เหลือเนี่ยเขาอยู่ตรงไหนของระบบเศรษฐกิจแบบนี้นะคะโอเคค่ะคือทั้งหมดนี้ก็อยากจะสะท้อนให้เห็นถึงว่าในเมื่อประชาชนไม่มีสิทธิ์ในการเข้าร่วมในการจัดการที่ดินของภาครัฐก็เลยทำให้ประชาชนเนี่ยไม่สามารถเข้าถึงที่ดินไม่มีที่ดินไม่มีที่ทำกินไม่มีที่อยู่อาศัยแล้วก็ทำให้เกิดความยากจนขึ้นในพื้นที่แล้วก็นอกจากนั้นเนี่ยก็ยังมีการคุกคามจากรัฐไม่ว่าจะเป็นการออกระเบียบหรือว่าการออกนโยบายการจัดสรรที่ดินที่ทำลายระบบเดิมอย่างเช่นในสปต.มีประชาชนมีเกษตรกรอยู่ในพื้นที่แบ่งที่ดินกัน10 ไร่สำหรับปลูกพืชเศรษฐกิจและ1 ไร่สำหรับที่อยู่อาศัยแต่เราอยู่กันมา10 ปีแล้วแต่ตอนนี้รัฐก็ออกระเบียบมาว่าจะต้องมีที่ดิน5+1 ไร่เท่านั้นแล้วนอกจากนั้นล่าสุดเมื่อวานมีการไปพูดคุยกับสปก.แล้วสปก.ก็บอกว่าเนี่ยจริงๆถ้าเกิดว่าประชาชนไม่ได้ออกไปเรียกร้องจน เกิดกรรมการชุดศึกษาเนี่ยจะฟ้องสมาชิกในชุมชนจะฟ้องเกษตรกรข้อหาบุกรุกทั้งหมดแล้วซึ่งนี่ก็เป็นการคุกคามอย่างหนึ่งที่ทำให้ประชาชนทำให้เกษตรกรไม่สามารถเข้าถึงที่ดินแล้วก็มีส่วนร่วมในการจัดการที่ดินได้ค่ะขอบคุณค่ะ
It's quite tough. It used to have like 16 right and 16 right for agricultural crops and 1 right for residential area, and now reduced to 5 right for agricultural crops and 1 right for your home, your residential area. That's quite tough. Okay, we will go to Toshi. I really love the title of your presentation, Why Irrawaddy Dolphins and the cedar birds live together. People's story as alternatives. Okay.
Next slide, please.
I think
How to do it?
The format changed a little bit, so we take some time for the preparation.
Thank you for your help. Technical challenge. I'm going to start with, okay. Shasha. Ready? Okay, next please. Okay, I start with Namtun 2, and all of us here already heard about this project at least twice this morning. Okay, it's a mega project built in central Laos and causing a lot of problems. But somehow the proponents of this dam have been able to brand the dam as a model of sustainable hydropower. In fact, Namtun 2 has contributed much to the hydro revival in Mekong and globally. Now, how does that happen next? Okay. According to Milodun, that's car sitting there, Namtun 2's branding as a model project has been possible not only because its proponents, such as the World Bank, had a lot of actually overwhelming financial, political, and human resources, but also because they worked very hard at a discourse level of the public sphere. Remember in Carl's presentation, he said a couple of times, words matter, right? I can't imitate his British pronunciation. Words matter, or whatever. All right? Now, more specifically, the proponents of Namtun 2 presented Namtun 2 as a good practice. And this resonated very well with the Laos development narrative, and that's what you're seeing in front, okay? And this Lao development narrative goes, Lao is materially poor, but has rich water resources, thus with high hydropower potential. Exporting electricity from Namtun 2 can bring in revenues with which Lao, actually the Lao government, can implement poverty reduction projects. Okay? And both Namtun 2 and this Lao development narrative reinforce or interplay with the idea of sustainable hydropower. Next. It is important to see how development proponents, not just in the dam sector, but generally, attempt to gain support in a public discourse. The World Bank in particular has been claiming itself to be a knowledge management institution. Okay? Its former director of knowledge management once wrote an article in the Forbes magazine, okay? And these are his words, and I think his words are suggestive of the importance that the World Bank is putting on discourse, especially stories. And this former director says, slides leave listeners dazed. Do you agree? That's us now, huh? Right? Or I might as well say, slides leave listeners dead. Okay? Prose remains unread. Reasons don't change behavior. When it comes to inspiring people to embrace some strange new change in behavior, storytelling isn't just better than the other tools. It is the only thing that works. Next. So my questions for the day is, at a discourse level of the public sphere, given resource politics which development proponents such as the World Bank want to play, where is space for alternatives, and how do alternatives look like? Next. Okay. To get my points across easily, I just focus on narratives. Actually, Cars and other people's analysis on Namtutu are much deeper, but I just focus on narratives here. And narratives can be defined as stories, which give interpretation of phenomena. As stories, narratives usually have characters like protagonists and antagonists and settings. Narratives also have a storyline with a clear beginning and an end. And end usually comes with a lesson or moral. And this storyline brings about catharsis effects or even fun. That's why we love stories. Also, for easier reference, I somewhat hesitantly call narratives produced by development proponents as dominant narratives. Next. Actually, this dominant narrative of using water resources for poverty reduction never really passed unchallenged. Okay, so I'm exploring the very discourse where the Namtutu proponent capitalized the Lao dominance narrative. This is one of the first attempts to produce counter-narratives. The people and their river. A few CSO researchers visited Namtutu downstream and documented how heavily local villagers' lives and livelihood depend on rivers, and as such, offered a view on water resources, which is quite different from that in the dominant narrative. The same researchers went back to the field in 2014, quite recently, and found how impoverished the villagers had become because of the Namtutu's negative impacts. This time, their reports directly contradicted the poverty reduction scenario of the Lao dominant narrative. Next. I think this case shows dominant narratives leave space for counter-narratives. Why? Because they must often include consensual, undisputable concepts such as water as resources and poverty reduction. So critics of dominant narratives can scrutinize or reality check these concepts and find gaps with claims made in dominant narratives. On the other hand, counter-narratives may be limited and limiting, especially for the purposes of envisioning development in much broader perspectives, because counter-narratives often need to be ushered into a public discourse in the terms and words of development proponents. Next. Now I'll take a more radical approach and see what you think. Okay. Now I leave Namtutu, so please delete Namtutu from your memory, and I'll talk about Mekong Watch's People's Story project. Since 2014, we have been collecting about 200 folk tales, legends, community history, and so on and so forth, other narratives from rural communities in 3 countries. We didn't collect these narratives specifically for advocacy or campaign. That being said, actually the sites where we collected these people's stories were often faced with development challenges, including a hydropower dam. Next. The first people's story is called Ka and Sida, which comes from Sipandong in southern Laos. And the story goes like this. There was this couple, Ka and his wife Sida, right? They built a bamboo raft and started traveling to look for a new promised land. And they traveled with animals like a chicken, a frog, and a peacock. They descended Mekong River on the raft and approached a big waterfall. The couple decided to ask the animals whether they should go on or not. Okay. The chicken said, "Job, stop." Okay. The frog said, "Look, it's deep." And finally, the peacock cried, "Pewong, pewong, pewong," meaning go on. Next. The couple decided to take the peacock's advice and proceeded further. Then they went over the waterfall and lost their lives. Sad. Ka was then reborn as an Irrawaddy dolphin, or Paka in the Lao language, and Sida as a Sida bird. Therefore, even today, when a dolphin chases fish, a Sida bird comes down to eat the fish. They can be seen together and are said to live upstream from the waterfall, and they never approach where they previously lost their lives. Next. I think Ian showed you a slide this morning, but Sipandong is sitting on the Mekong mainstream and enjoys rich biodiversity. But its natural and social environments are now threatened by one of the Mekong mainstream dams called the Dongsamon Dam, which is under construction. So on your left, the dam is likely to affect the habitat of already endangered Irrawaddy dolphins and other life forms. So the dominant narrative here is quite similar to that of Namtuntu. That is to say, Sipandong's water resources can be used to electrify poor villages in the area. However, the Ka and Sida story gives a quite different interpretation of Sipandong and its water resources. The story links dolphins and Sida birds together and gives meaning to their behaviors. The story then maps all of these in Sipandong's landscape. The story also helps us experience Sipandong through the narrator's eyes, making us feel how it might be to be there. Okay, next, the second story is from northeastern Thailand called Padeng and Nangai. This story goes, okay, there was this beautiful princess called Nangai, right? And Padeng, a young man, traveled to this kingdom and sneaked into Nangai's room and had an affair with her. There was another man, he is actually the son of King Naga, who ruled the underground kingdom, also learned about the princess Nangai. And he was doomed to meet her because actually in their previous life they had been married. So this son of King Naga transformed himself into a white squirrel and visited Nangai's terrace. Next. Nangai saw the squirrel and told her servant to catch it. The squirrel escaped into Swanmong, or Amugari garden, which today became Swanmong village. The hunter tried to shoot the squirrel with a bow, but the string or side broke. He found a new one and carried to the place which became later Konsai village. The hunter finally shot the squirrel to death. He sliced the meat, and the meat multiplied. So everyone in the kingdom, including Nangai, ate the meat. And this made King Naga angry because his son had been killed and eaten. So King Naga sent his army and destroyed the kingdom. Padeng, the young man, tried to save the princess, but she sank with the kingdom. Only a lake full of water remained. This was how Nonghan Lake today was created. Okay. This is a picture of a small-scale salt production, which is quite common in Isan or Northeast Thailand. Actually, Isan, Northeast Thailand has rich underground salt reserve. Next. However, these days, corporates see this underground salt as a resource for industrialization. Their activities are affecting the local environment and communities. So here the dominant narrative is, again, to use natural resources for profits. However, the Padeng and Nangai story offers a spectacular drama. It selects key landmarks, explains how they came to be named, and links them all in the area's landscape. The story also incorporates themes such as reincarnation and transformation, which are important to Isan villagers' spiritual life. Actually, one of our co-researchers pointed out that this white squirrel in the story symbolizes underground salt, and that the eating the squirrel's meat, multiplied meat, is over excavation or over exploitation of the underground salt, and that the fate of the sunken the kingdom is a consequence of over exploitation of the natural resources. Next, to summarize, people's stories seem to offer different framings to Mekong's environments, especially when compared to dominant narratives. People's stories are much more context-specific and have emerged out of particular settings. They provide interpretations of landmarks and the landscape as a whole, so that the local community can understand where they are. People's stories also express morals and wisdom, which are important for the community to sustain itself. Furthermore, people's stories are much less anthropocentric. Animals, trees, even rivers and rocks and spirits act and talk like humans. They also transform themselves into humans and vice versa. I have a couple more slides, but perhaps I should stop here. Like
2 minutes.
2 more minutes? Okay, thank you. The next slide, okay. So very quickly, people's stories show other things as well. I'm not so naive or even proposing that, dumb proponents listen to these stories and all of a sudden they change their mind and stop building dams, okay, to protect dolphins and birds. That wouldn't happen. Okay? They will actually not even see people's stories as something to be considered when discussing Mekong's development, right? But I still like to ask, but why not? Okay? On the one hand, very simplistic, if not dubious, stories like the Lao development, story, okay, are so influential. On the other hand, people's stories are not even making it to a public discourse. Why? I think the answer is quite obvious. Who creates narratives is far more important actually here. Okay, next slide. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh yeah. Okay, fine. Also, this may not be quite clear from the 2 examples that I have given to you earlier, but people's stories are also very pluralistic. There are many versions of one story. People's stories are also multi-voiced and participatory. The narrator improvises by adding, shortcutting, or acting out to appeal to the audience, and sometimes even the audience can join and co-narrate stories. In fact, people's stories are fundamentally performance of process rather than product. They are dynamic and open-ended. Next. These features of people's stories seem to be in line with what Larry Roman, one of our friends, sees as alternatives in his very short but provocative essay entitled An Alternative to Alternatives. Larry is skeptical about pre-programmed alternatives. However, even those who are supportive and sympathetic to people's movements often get trapped with this idea of alternatives, of being pre-planned and neatly packaged ideas or development projects. And Larry tries to illustrate his point by quoting the villagers who fought against the World Bank-funded Pak Mun Dam in northeast Thailand again. These villagers were visited by very sympathetic European journalists. However, these journalists still couldn't get away from this preoccupied idea of alternatives being a pre-programmed plan, and kept asking the villagers, what is your alternative to the Pak Mun Dam? The villagers patiently replied, trying to say, alternatives are already here, and they go on to say, we have our fisheries, we have our community forests, we have our fields, we have our temples, our schools, our markets. These are what the dam would hurt or destroy. Sure, we have problems, but we need to deal with them in our own way, and the dam would take away what we need to do that. Okay? In the interest of time, I will just stop there. Can you go to the last slides? Okay, just to share some pictures with you on your right. children learning the local environments and communities through people's stories. This is what we're doing in local elementary schools in Thailand. On your left, this is actually taking place this very moment. Some northeastern Thailand villagers who are affected by mining projects. They are using this white squirrel as a symbol to protect their environment, their communities, and also their resources from large industries. So now they are taking this symbol from a cultural discourse to a political discourse. So all of these are efforts to bring people's stories more into a public domain. So I end here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that's the good example of like, I talked with some people who already joined the event, the walking event, and they said if your heart's so painful, use your feet to voice out. So that's the thing. Very poetic. I don't know, because of your presentation, you made me feel like this. And I know because Sovereign already said that please make politics more humanistic. So we already, I think we already did it. Okay, we come to the final presentation. And I think you are ready just to talk about the role of media in exploring alternatives in Southeast Asia by Kristen Han. Please.
Hi, so thanks for having me here. My name is Kirsten. I'm a freelance journalist, Singaporean, based in Singapore at the moment, and I also do some civil society work campaigning against, for example, capital punishment in Singapore, and LGBT equality, free speech, issues like that. But I also am chief editor of New Narrative, which is a platform that's just a little bit over a year old, which we founded, so that's what I'm here talking about today. Just to give you an idea of the site, I'll come back to it later, but this is New Narrative, so we publish a range of things, and I'll come back and take you through it in a bit. But basically, what it is we were looking at the situation in terms of press freedom in Southeast Asia, and this is this year's rankings, which is all very depressing looking. Just today, so like the first session of this morning, we were hearing about shrinking public space, shrinking civil society space in Thailand, and it was kind of really sad to hear because some of the things that were being discussed in Thailand have already happened in Singapore and have been happening for years, and it's not really been talked about. For example, I was hearing about people talk about assembly laws in Thailand that would seek to restrict public assembly to 5 people. In Singapore, it's been the law for years that a single person can be an illegal assembly, and this year we have seen a performance artist and an activist jailed for participating in a one-person procession, which is literally not even the definition of the word procession. He just stood outside Parliament holding a mirror in silence, and 6 police officers came and arrested him, and he ended up doing 2 weeks in jail. So looking at this situation, the World Press Freedom Index, there was a small group of us who felt like there was very limited space within Southeast Asian local media to tell really in-depth critical stories because of censorship or other political considerations. But when we talked about the foreign media, which as a freelance journalist I very often work for, we felt like there was also no space there because they are catering to their audiences in Europe and the US, and that requires them to play into particular stereotypes, political things that audiences in the West want to see and things that they just don't care about Southeast Asia. So this PDF was originally from a presentation that I did in Poland, but I think now that we're in Southeast Asia, I don't need to explain these stereotypes. I'm sure you've heard them yourself. Some experiences I've had as a freelance journalist was in the middle of our last general election in 2015. I was told by a foreign editor to file less stories because the Singapore election is of no interest to us. And you know, I hear that from correspondents around the region. You know, like people are not
foreign editors are not interested in Cambodian stories unless they have to do with genocide, even though the genocide was so long ago and Cambodia has so many different issues that they're facing now, or things about Vietnam have to be about the Vietnam War. People who are still confused about whether there are traffic lights in Vietnam and things like that. And so how New Narrative came about was we have three main founding members. There's myself as a journalist. Our managing director, PJ Thum, is actually a historian. And our third founding member is Sunny Liu, who is a graphic novelist, comics artist, all was Singaporean. And so it was three very different fields, but very much united in the sense that there needs to be more space for Southeast Asian discussion, for stories, for different sorts of network solidarity, building, and connection. And so we say that New Narrative is a platform for journalism, research, art, and community building. So I think it's better to show you the site now. So we have all these different sections where we try to tell stories using different mediums. So we can see stories about the environment. This is a story about, stories about an environment where a Singaporean comics artist was talking about wild habitats through the eyes of an otter, who are like many celebrities in Singapore at the moment. Every time an otter appears out of the river, there are like all these Instagram posts. There's research papers, so with different academics, researchers coming out to repurpose their work and to present their work in very plain, simple language that's easily read, and they're not locked away in expensive academic journals that people can't access. And we also do podcasts. We do two podcasts, one on Southeast Asia, like a magazine show, and one that's a kind of hour to hour and a half long roundtable of Singaporean issues, and they alternate, so both are fortnightly. So we decided to do this to really showcase the in-depth stories and voices of Southeast Asia. We try to work as much as possible. We don't have any full-time staff at all, so we don't have any staff writers. We work with freelancers, and we try to go with freelancers who are actually based in a place that they're talking about, as close as we can get. It's not enough to just be based in Indonesia. We try to ask, where in Indonesia are you based? And we try to get people as close as possible to the story. So for example, we don't hire consulting editors based on capital, we hire them based on region. So in Indonesia alone at the moment, we have three consulting editors in North Sumatra, in Jakarta, and Kalimantan, and coming in Sulawesi. And so we publish them in these different formats, as I've shown you, but also in different languages. So we try as much as we can to translate our work. All our stuff goes out in English first, and we try as much as we can to translate it to Bahasa Indonesia. If we feel like it's really relevant, we translate it to Malay as well. And occasionally we've had volunteers who, because they really want to support us and they feel like it's important, we've had volunteers translate it to Vietnamese and to Mandarin. And so we want to do this because we feel like there needs to be more understanding between Southeast Asian countries. I would say that in this 1 year of editing New Narrative, I learned more about Southeast Asia than in all my years in school in Singapore, because we just don't learn these things. Like there's some really basic things about neighboring countries that when a freelancer pitched a story to me, I had to go and Google to find out what it was, to even understand what they were trying to say in the pitch. And it's really fantastic when we see the responses, because there are people who are like, oh, I didn't know this was happening just next door, or people who realize that the struggles in one Southeast Asian country are parallel in another. So today a lot of people have talked about, increased use of legislation to shrink civil society space, and that's happened in so many countries. So we've had articles talking about Computer Crimes Act in Thailand, but we've also seen, just in the past month alone in Singapore, defamation suits, criminal defamation investigations, and then leading to a charge yesterday. So the chief editor of the Online Citizen, which is our longest running independent news website, was just charged yesterday for criminal defamation because of one sentence in a reader's letter claimed that there was corruption in the highest echelons of government. So the highest echelons of government said that they were defamed, even though there's no such person as a highest echelon of government. So we've seen all these, we've seen like LGBT issues mirrored across the region for various different reasons, but the same sort of resistance and persecution and discrimination. But we felt like it wasn't enough to just do stories, because, you know, if we felt like if writing could solve the problem, then, you know, I've been working as a journalist for like 6 to 8 years now, I should have solved all the problems. So we felt like we needed to do a bit more than that. So we decided that New Narrative would also model the behavior that we want to see, and so we promised transparency and openness in the way that we run. Because we are frustrated by how difficult it is to get information from governments across Southeast Asia, we decided that it would not be difficult to get information from New Narrative. So we actually publish periodically full statement of income and expenses, so people can see what money we have and how we spend it. And we see that as transparency for our members, because we are funded by members, but also as protection to be completely upfront with how these things, how the money is spent and how the money is managed, to present a counter to accusations of, you know, I don't know, foreign interference or whatever, which is something I'll get to in a bit. And so we also, these are like tweets from freelancers, some of them who have worked for us. We also try to model behavior that we want to see from other media organizations. So because I am a freelancer and New Narrative's content is pretty much all written by freelancers, we know that in a lot of media organizations, both within and without Southeast Asia, do not treat their freelancers well. So a lot of freelancers writing about exploitations of workers are probably also pretty exploited ourselves. We don't have contracts. We, you know, sometimes get ghosted by editors even after you've done all the work. They never come back and then you never get paid. Or, you know, we file invoices and we never get paid. The longest I've chased an invoice was over a year. And we had one freelancer who calculated how much money she was owed, and she was owed 17 months worth of rent by publications that she worked for and just never paid her. So New Narrative also commits to pay in full and on time, and usually we pay, you know, within 24 hours, to the point where we now have freelancers expecting us to pay within 24 hours. So if our managing director goes traveling and he's on a plane for a day, we already have people going, hey, you didn't pay me, and it's literally been like an afternoon. So it's not always easy talking about foreign interference. So New Narrative's parent company is registered in the UK because we figured, you know, because of the World Press Freedom Index, you can see, we figured a platform like this about Southeast Asia best register the parent company outside of Southeast Asia. So we registered in the UK, and then we tried because we were Singaporeans, and, you know, I still live in Singapore and we wanted to do more work in Singapore. We tried to register a subsidiary in Singapore. And what happened was they not only rejected us, but for the first time I've seen the accounting authority do this, issued a press release to say that we were being rejected because we are clearly political, because we had received funding from Open Society Foundation, which means we have touched that sneaky George Soros money, and George Soros meddles in people's politics. And so if we were allowed to register, it would be foreigners using Singaporeans to interfere in domestic politics. And so that press release went everywhere. This is a full page in the Straits Times about us with that photo of George Soros on there, who neither of us have met. You know, we've never met George Soros. I don't think he knows we exist. But yeah, you know, and this is a full page. So if you imagine a full broadsheet, you can imagine how big that photo is. It's quite startling. And so we are actually not allowed to have a legal presence in Singapore, so we then just went and registered in Malaysia. So now we are registered in Malaysia. So we, apart from these stories, we want to keep doing offline events. We want to keep bringing civil society groups together to organize democracy classrooms where we invite people in to talk about current affairs and issues that are important, because we feel like, you know, apart from achieving goals, which is what Singaporeans are often very, very focused on. How to achieve, how to execute and achieve goals. We want to normalize the conversation first and to normalize the public discourse, to get people to realize that their opinions do matter and that their opinions should be heard and that they have a right to be heard as long as they're engaging in good faith, and that there are connections that can be made between Southeast Asian countries in learning about all these struggles. And so we continue to do that. After today, I'm going to KL, where we're going to have an open meeting and Christmas party, and then back to Singapore for another Christmas party. But we will talk about useful things, so it's Christmas party plus democracy. And so, yeah, so that's New Narrative in a nutshell. We stand in solidarity with reporters across Southeast Asia who are doing work in increasingly difficult environments. We've seen in the past year alone, like the shutdown of free press in Cambodia. We've actually got a lot of Cambodian content on New Narrative simply because there are so many stories with nowhere to go that such a young outfit like us suddenly attracted a lot of writers. And so just to give an idea, this is a book that we published as an experiment because we heard from members that some of our members who support us are older, they're not used to reading online, and they wanted something that they can actually read in hard copy. So as an experiment, we tried to publish a book, and this is our first year, so from September 2017 to September 2018. And this is it's a pretty big book, but it's a selection of articles and stories that we've published. And we are also crowdsourcing our members and readers to actually read articles from this book so that we can do an audio book, because another member said, what about your supporters and subscribers who are visually impaired or who are just older, that their eyesight is deteriorating, they would rather listen. So we are trying to get members of the community to participate and support each other and create an audio book as well. So that's the work that New Narrative is doing. Thank you.
So now it's time for our Q&A section. Anyone has any questions? Just we collect the question, 3 questions first, and then we will let the speaker, the presenter, answer your questions. So who's going to be the first one? Okay.
Maybe I'd like to ask our Burmese Myanmar friends. Laos has stated that it wants to be the battery of this region or sub-region. Does Myanmar have this kind of ambition too? Because after all, you do have a lot of hydro resources. Has there been any public announcement from the government that they want to also follow suit?
They are not saying really Asia battery, not the idea of the Lao, but even maybe more than that. Because I think we have a different idea. We got for the dam, dam mean the last scale one, in Myanmar, we being already done a lot of dam project, in the military eras, lots of correction. Even the government, even the some the highest person from the military government, they already confessed. They built a lot of dam and they mistake a lot. This kind of they already say it. But this another idea is the majority of our energy mix come from the hydropower. But the way they think is differently. How to say before, yes, they really want to build the large scale one, but because of the people resistance are very strong, so now I think many large scale dam project, mega dam project, they cannot go forward. So now they're trying to avoid the large scale dam project, and they are now thinking another idea like a gas, natural gas. So now the natural gas is increasing a lot. So now they're trying to planning and stop the large scale dam and the coal power project. All the big coal power projects they already suspended, And also another large scale, like a mainstream dam project, they cannot do it, they stop it, but still some dam projects stay going on. But this time is a little bit, we see a little bit different. Before we see only the dam developer from China and like Thailand supposedly. But now, I think a few people, like some company involving quietly, like even Japan. I saw the Singapore, now Norwegian, very active behind. The people see Norway, oh, they are involving in the peace process, but now they are developing a lot the hydropower guideline for Myanmar. So they are the key ones. So now a new developer coming already, like the French company, Norwegian, Singapore, Japan, now Japan in like Marubeni. So they are coming. So I think now the hydropower is still the most for the government the most attractive issue, and they really want to do, but they are very carefully thinking for the mega one. Mega one means like on the mainstream one, like in Yisong Dam, but they cannot go forward because this is very strong resistance from the people. But still, some project is not really, people are not pay attention. But still, these projects stay quite big. Even 1,000 megawatt, still big, right? Very big, like so. But I think like now people see like okay, Norway, the European, like they have better standard. So this kind of idea, so quietly behind involving. So now, but China and like they see very clear, obviously, oh, it's very bad, something. So I think still the hydropower is in Myanmar is still very important role, and they will be doing, but very carefully. They are not doing the like a big one yet.
I will go to you later, please. Yeah.
Different. Alternative spaces for counter discourses. I do realize that online media and social media do have their limitations. I mean, it's a very great way to reach out to people. But then, the market for online media, social media, would be your urbanized, relatively young, and relatively educated part of the populace. But then we are writing mostly about people who are not part of that sector. We are writing about indigenous peoples. We are writing about farmers who are mostly disadvantaged and marginalized in accessing basic social services. So how does this alternative space that we provide, space for counter discourses, how does it go to these disadvantaged and marginalized groups? You're uneducated, you don't have money to buy food, you can't even buy food, so how can you buy phones to read the stories that are being told about you? How can this benefit them directly in terms of education, in terms of raising their awareness?
I'm going to take this question. Do you want to go for it, or anyone want to go for this question? Or Kristen, do you want to take this?
Yeah, I think that's really hard. So, I mean, in my experience, it's not come up in my personal experience simply because Singapore doesn't have a rural those communities as they can get, or even if they are not from those communities, they expect them to go to the ground and actually talk to people and give the people space, do the interviews, give the people space to talk about their experience. So we had one story where we paired up two journalists in Indonesia, one in Jakarta who was interviewing the human rights lawyers and trying to get official responses about Meliana's blasphemy case, and another one who was in Medan who went to Tanjung Balai and spoke to her neighbors and spoke to her children and spoke to the local Buddhist temples who were then burnt down. And so we tried to do that to get as much of that local voice. We also found in your narrative that we tried, particularly, we started with Indonesia and Malaysia first, and hopefully we can grow that, but bringing in editors who can edit bilingually so that we offer freelancers the opportunity to file their stories in their local language and then translate it to have it be published in English, because if you can only accept English publication, English stories, then what you're going to get are the expats who live in Southeast Asia, right? And they are very good, but they are still, a lot of them are still, in the country for not that long, or a very particular privileged section of the population who have had good English education. So for Indonesia, we do accept stories filed in Indonesian, and that allowed stories from Sulawesi to come in, stories from Kalimantan are coming in. We have one beautiful, very long-form story that he wrote, I think over 3,000 words, about child marriage on a small island in Kulingaran in Sulawesi. And it was a journalist who had actually been a sex ed educator on that island for some time. And he approached the story in a way that I think was very different from if we had sent a Western journalist in there, because the way he talked about it, he was clear that he did not approve of child marriage and we weren't condoning it, but he also wasn't just barging in and saying this is barbaric. He was trying to understand why the community does it. It's such an entrenched practice for such a long time that it's not going to go away immediately. Even if you pass a law immediately banning child marriage, that island that's so remote from Jakarta is not going to automatically get rid of the practice. So he approached it very sensitively, I think, and he actually spoke to the teenagers who were married and got their view of it. And so we're trying to do that more and more. We're very limited in what we can do because like for example, in Cambodia, we struggle to find Cambodian writers who would write in both English and Khmer, and our website actually can't support Khmer script. That was one of the things that we talked to web developers about, and they were like, you either cough up a lot of money for us to code it for you, or you can't do it right now. So that's one of the things we have to fundraise for.
Yeah. And also, Khun Charan would like to add some idea.
ค่ะก็สำหรับหวานก็เป็นคนหนึ่งที่ทำงานในชุมชนนะคะก็จะพูดถึงสองส่วนนะคะก็คือส่วนของภายในก็คือการเปิดพื้นที่ภายในกับภายนอกนะคะพื้นที่ภายในที่เราเปิดพื้นที่เนี่ยก็คือเปิดพื้นที่ในชุมชนให้เป็นพื้นที่สาธารณะค่ะแล้วก็เราจะให้การศึกษากับสมาชิกในชุมชนให้การศึกษาทางการเมืองให้การศึกษาเกี่ยวกับข้อมูลข่าวสารต่างๆความเคลื่อนไหวภายนอกซึ่งสมาชิกในชุมชนเนี่ยก็จะได้รับเอกสารหรือว่าในตอนเช้าก็จะมีการเรียกการมาประชุมร่วมกันนะคะเราก็จะอัปเดตข้อมูลกันในตอนเช้าว่าตอนนี้ภายนอกชุมชนมีอะไรเกิดขึ้นบ้างแล้วก็ตอนนี้เป็นยังไงบ้างซึ่งจะทำให้สมาชิกเนี่ยในชุมชนได้รู้ข่าวสารนะคะแล้วก็การให้การศึกษาเนี่ยคือแผนระยะยาวก็คือการสร้างโรงเรียนการเมืองในชุมชนเพื่อที่จะส่งเสริมแล้วก็สนับสนุนการให้ความ ศึกษาเรียนรู้ในชุมชนไม่ว่าจะเป็นการจัดตั้งการดำเนินงานหรือว่าวิถีชีวิตการอยู่อาศัยต่างๆค่ะคือคนภายนอกเนี่ยสามารถเข้าไปเรียนรู้ในชุมชนได้เลยว่าเราสมาชิกเราเกษตรกรเราเนี่ยคนที่ต่อสู้เรื่องที่ดินนะสามารถอยู่ในที่ดินตรงเนี้ยมา10 ปีอ่ะมันอยู่ได้ยังไงซึ่งก็เปิดพื้นที่เสมอนะคะแล้วก็มีการเปิดพื้นที่ก็คือการทำสื่อของตัวเองค่ะก็อาจจะไม่ได้เป็นสื่อที่ดีมากเท่าไหร่แต่ว่าก็อาจจะเป็นเพจ Facebook อย่างเงี้ยค่ะก็คืออย่างน้อยก็ได้ถ่ายรูปแล้วก็ได้พิมพ์ข้อความสั้นๆว่าวันนี้ในชุมชนทำอะไรบ้างเพื่อที่จะให้คนข้างนอกชุมชนนะคะให้คนที่เป็นเครือข่ายหรือว่าคนที่อยากรู้ว่าในชุมชนเป็นยังไงบ้างให้เขาได้รู้เรื่องของเราด้วยแล้วก็ตอนนี้ก็มีการเปิดเว็บไซต์ซึ่งด้วยความที่ยังใหม่สำหรับเรื่องนี้สำหรับเรื่องเทคโนโลยีก็ต้องไปรับการสนับสนุนจากเครือข่ายจากเพื่อนๆจากองค์กรอื่นที่จะเข้ามาสนับสนุนในการทำงานคือบางครั้งเราก็อาจจะต้องขอร้องให้เขาเข้ามาช่วยหรือว่าช่วยดำเนินการด้านเว็บไซต์อะค่ะให้มันสมบูรณ์ให้มันสามารถเผยแพร่ข้อมูลได้ค่ะแล้วก็ต่อมาอีกประเด็นหนึ่งก็คือการเปิดพื้นที่ภายนอกก็คือการพาสมาชิกในชุมชนออกไปเรียนรู้อย่างเช่นวันนี้ค่ะก็จะมีอย่างหวานเป็นเยาวชนแล้วก็จะมีคนที่อาศัยอยู่ในชุมชนเนี่ยก็จะมานั่งฟังว่าเป็นยังไงบ้างแล้วพอกลับไปแล้วเนี่ยคนที่มาวันนี้ค่ะก็จะต้องเอาข้อมูลเหล่านี้ไปพูดให้ในชุมชนฟังซึ่งส่วนหนึ่งก็หมายถึงการเข้าถึงพื้นที่สาธารณะหรือว่าการสื่อสารกันภายในองค์กรภายในชุมชนนะคะก็นี่ก็เป็นสิ่งสำคัญอย่างหนึ่งค่ะขอบคุณค่ะ
And
So maybe
Thank you. Probably a question to Roshi. We have some old book that state that our ancestor is from part of Indochina. We also has a story about Naga, a dragon. Gundam people believe that there are a big dragon in Gundam being our god. So some people believe that the dragon gave a message to protect the land because the land is the dragon itself. My question is how do people choose which tales that can be used as a strategy to explain the harmful of the dam project? Because there are many local stories and how the internal mechanism of the community to choose the one story to translate as mechanism to explain to the community what kind of this project. That's my first question. Because you said that the government would not cancel the dam only because the
woods,
only based on the local story. So the story need like a translation, or interpretation. In the movement, the speleologists, the careful scientists translate or interpret the story of the dragon. So they do the underground river and then interpret that the dragon is not as a dragon, as an animal with creature, but the dragon is the underground river that very long as a complex network. So the community, they interpret their local stories based on their experience when they do the underground.
So it looks like a strategy question to me. Like how do people select many stories to represent what happening in the community?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I have like a relevant question, and probably as a journalist I have skeptical about the people's story. Is you collect like a 300 stories, but is there some story that probably actually can be so mean or so cruel story from the folk tales? I remember, and probably have some element of gender inequality in that kind of sense. How you like from your experience that collect 300 story, is this can use also them, or you have to be select, and also about how to translate. The interpretation is also another part. Who will be the interpreter of this story?
Let's see. One, about the dragon. Dragon or a snake. I think one theory said that they might symbolize life. Yeah. So I think we get to see a lot of stories about snakes and dragon and serpent and things like that. Even among Australian Aborigines, they believe that huge serpent travels from the west to the east across the Australian continent, and it's one of their stories. So I think the observation is quite valid in that sense. If you are interested, or if we are interested, I think we can look for lots of dragon snake stories all over the world. That's my first comment. Regarding your questions of which stories to use and how to use, I honestly don't know, because as I said, these stories are very much context specific. So you are the one, or we are the ones who collect stories and think about how to use them if you want to, right? I know I'm not really answering your question directly. However, I thought just the fact that my two stories triggered your thought, and you already generated a lot of ideas and observations, and I think that in itself is the indication of the power of the stories. You can share stories with villagers that you work with, and you can make a lot of conversation about it, and that stimulates your imagination and thoughts. And so this may not be very strategic in terms of efficiency, but I care, quite honestly, I care less about efficiency here, because then you're already thinking in a box. You're already thinking in terms of the dominant narrative. And I'm sorry, but narratives and stories just don't fit there. And I see that's the value of those stories. Yeah. Regarding, sorry, but getting back to the other question, the earlier question, it's a tough question how to work with local communities or people who are coming from different backgrounds. Again, I don't have a ready-made answer. I think many things have to be dealt with, very specifically. Constantly you are self-reflecting upon yourself, asking constantly yourself a question of, am I doing right? Am I doing wrong? Is it something that is good for them or good for me, good for both sides, so on and so forth. Having said that, I think I have certain principles at least, and most of them are. All of these are rather conceptual, but I think I try not to pretend like, for example, if you're talking about local communities in Thailand or Islam or wherever, at least I don't pretend like I can work with them on an equal footing. Right? And also, relatedly, I think these days we talk concepts like inclusion or embracing too easily. I always try to be open and try not to say like, okay, I have understood this and that. I have understood this community, 100%. I think I always try to leave it open so that anything that may appear to be very strange and abnormal to me, I will still try to embrace that. And that's something that I also learned from people's stories. One of the things that I said about feature of the narratives is they are open-ended. So I try to, make myself open-ended as well. Sorry, but these are conceptual answers I have.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for every panelist. Today we come to the final moment of us, and then there will be two persons just to close the event. The first one, I would like to invite Manfred, the director of Heritage University from Southeast Asia Regional Office, just to say something. And also after that, thank you for Ajahn Naruman for staying through us the whole day today. Ajahn Naruman will give a closing remark as well. So please, Manfred and Ajahn Naruman. Yes, sure. Hold on a second, Toshi has something to say.
I wrote two publications. One is a handbook which explains how we are trying to use people's stories for environmental education. I have about less than 15 copies free. Also, if you're interested in salt stories, the entire book is about Eastern salt stories. Sorry, both of these are written in Thai, so these are only for Thai readers. But I guess everyone's always is great because we always prioritize English, so just for a change, okay, Thai readers have privileges. So if you're interested, please come and ask me. I'll share a copy with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And also Manfred.
I wanted to share a few thoughts from my side, what we think about the concept of public sphere as a political foundation affiliated with the Greens Party. Because public spheres, as we've seen in these stories and different contributions we have, are so diverse and so different. But I think there's a common thread that goes through all these stories. I'd like to share a kind of a personal story with regard to that. Roughly 2 weeks ago, I was approached by our headquarters in Berlin, and they asked me, could I please list all the projects we are doing in the field of LGBTI in the region, the partners we support, and also the financial contributions we provide to these projects. And I was asking them actually what's the reason for that, and I was told that one of the political parties, or the political party from the right wing in Germany, planned to have an inquiry within Parliament to find out globally what political foundations in Germany spend in terms of LGBTI issues. And I don't think we need a lot of imagination to know where this is coming from. This is again an attempt by the conservative, ultra-conservative right wing in Europe, one of those parties out here in Germany, to close public sphere, to restrict and debate about issues that should be part of our societal and political debate. So we will have to abide by that, it's clear, so the Parliament is required to respond to these issues, but it made me think a lot because, our society, our polity actually post-war, post-Second World War, was based on the fact that pluralism will help us to develop, will help us to thrive, and it eventually did. And the reason why we exist as political foundations is actually the fact that we are indirectly mentioned in the Constitution. So we are one of the few countries in the world where political parties are explicitly listed in the Constitution, in our Article 21, saying that political parties contribute to the decision-making process of our citizens. And what I see now is happening not only in Germany, but in very many countries in Europe, is that the very forces that are supposed to support pluralism and open societies, i.e. parties, are now exactly the forces that are fighting to restrict it, to close the public sphere, that become proponents of the shrinking space we talk about. And what I also realized in that context is that they are very well organized. They are cooperating across borders. They have networks, they have funding. And what they are trying to do in these processes is cut down the funding, is cut down the networks of those groups, civil society you may call it. I call it the people who want to keep their open societies. And this is why I also refuse the term alternative space. The space we occupy is not an alternative space. This is the people's space. And what we are witnessing at the moment is that they want to impose an alternative space on us. A smaller space, a shrinking space, a space where no one is allowed to debate things that they don't approve of or don't like. And I think this is why we work as a political foundation with the Greens Party in this sector, because we as a Greens Party were a people's movement to start with. We were not a political party. We were coming together to work on issues such as the peace movement in the 70s and 80s. We came together to work on gender democracy, on LGBTI rights. We came together to work on ecological issues, climate change and other prevalent issues that are very important for humanity. And I think we have an obligation to help our partners wherever we are, wherever we work, to keep that space open. This is why I'm going a little bit beyond the discussions we've had here, because we talk about resource management and other issues. That is one component of it. But I think that it is very important to us to be a platform, that supports transnational work of groups such as yours, such as the speakers we had here, going from, I'd like to use the example of Vietnam, very hardcore, if I may say, political work under threat, to the collection of community stories, to issues that relate to the press freedom and the media, because that is all part of the discussion we need to have, and that we also need to organize and to have these open debates. One last comment I'd like to make is what I also liked is the spirit in which these discussions have been held, because when I first was confronted with the issue of shrinking space, it was always a very defensive concept. It was something that instilled fear and sorrow, and it was all about being arrested, being ostracized, being driven out of the country. And I think that the public sphere discussion is something that is really helpful, also psychologically and in terms of creating networks, because it's a positive one. It's a way to say, yes, we are here, we have a tangible contribution to make, we have ideas, we want to contribute, and we fill that space in a way that is peaceful and in a way that is inclusive. And I think this is the overarching concept behind this idea of working with, and I come actually to thanking the colleagues who are here, the speakers, this kind of rich world and cosmos I've seen today about ideas, about concepts in various areas. I also like to thank Carl. I'd like to thank the Faculty of Political Science and also the Center for Social Development Studies, because they share with us this kind of concepts and are a sounding board of the discussions we'd like to support across the region. And this is more or less also an offer to our friends who are here to contact us, to contact Carl, to contact our colleague from FCM. Thank you very much also to you for your really great contribution, this long and rich experience you have in the region in defending these spaces. This is our role, and I'm very grateful for your contributions today, and I really learned a lot, and I'd like to close with that. Thank you very much.
I request just so shy, so I need to talk a bit about peace. I would like to start, since I listened to Toshi, so I would like to start that there are two women who already passed away and have the very real impact, at least on my life. The first one passed away, I think, more than 5 years, nearly 10 years. Her name is Kun Vanida Tanti Vitaya Pihat. I think we share this here, so we have inspired by her a lot, actually. And for her, one thing, she is the one who started by as a singer in the student band, and then joined the worker movement, went to the jungle, come back to sell as a salesman for insurance, and then work on the anti-dam movement. And when we talked to her, one thing that she talked to me saying that it's not about whether we win or lose, but the important thing is that when you start, and she said that if you count, we lost more than win. But the most important is that we start, and I think the fruit that take place in the Pakmun Dam, even though up until now they still lost, but I think they have a lot of impact to those who are talking about the dam. That is the first one that the people start, and I think when we heard about the story of the woman who sit on the dynamite and working, I think it's very inspiring. The second woman just passed away 2 weeks ago. She's a Cambodian. Her name is Kun Siwon. She is the woman who do the Dhammayatra. She do the peace walk. She one of the Khmer refugee during the Khmer Rouge. She do the peace walk with the Mahakosananthap. And she walked from the refugee camp in Cambodia during the war at that time and went to Phnom Penh. And up until now, until last year when she faced the problem with her health, she still do it. But her answer, something that's very important to me, she's saying that we are not going to wait for the next war and start talking about peace. The important part is that you just have to start and do something. And in that case, it's the way that you find your way. Or I think these 2 women inspire me in a sense that when we talk about the sphere of space, it's not the space that you wait for the mercy of anyone else to give it to you, but it's the one that you have to fight and acquire it and contest it. And I think this is a very important, and the 2 of them is just very small person. They never talking about something big. They're just saying that mostly I'm lost. Moving and do it. What we want to do. But I think this is the one thing that we learn from today is that we may start very pessimistic when we look at the powerful state. And we end up with the contested, or we may use the word, I agree with Manfred, it's not alternative. We are not just an alternative, but for us, actually we are the one who occupy the space. And in that case, I think one thing is that if we think that we also, this kind of the public sphere is not the one that we wait from the mercy of the state, but it's the one that we have to fight for and acquire. I think will be the starting point. So for me, today on this seminar, at least this gives me more optimistic from the morning, very pessimistic to more optimistic at the end. And I would like to thank everyone in this the forum. At least it's made this faculty less elite. We sit in the room that called Chulalongkorn University Political Science Alumni Association. So basically, those who are in the alumni is the one who are the Secretary General of the Ministry of Interior. So basically, they are really real elite. They are the one who also try to close your space. But at least we occupy this room and use this room and be talking about our own public space. So thank you very much to make them at least democratize the Faculty of Political Science. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know what to say right now. It's okay, before we leave, I have some announcement from the admin part of it, which is really important too. So from someone who travel outside, from outside the country and coming here, we need some proof of expedition when you use taxi. Yeah, I know. At the end of the day, we have to come to this view, okay? So just, what do you think? Okay, anyone really want to submit your document, just contact our team in front of this room. So, okay, before we go, just to fresh up a little bit, just I want to hear the solidarity from you. Just give ourselves and how to end this event. So thank you again. Good work. And see you next time.
Short announcement for those of you who are joining tomorrow morning's meeting. It's not this room, same floor.